press review with Alison Sargent. Good morning to you. Our top story here on Live from Paris, the terror attack last night on the Champs-Élysées, making front page news across the channel.
It is. Eyes were already starting to turn to France with the upcoming election this Sunday, but this attack thrust France into the limelight even earlier than expected. We can start with the front page of the conservative British paper, the Daily Telegraph. They say, terror on the Champs-Élysées. The paper says that the attack raises questions over how yet another Islamist extremist known to police was able to bring terror to the heart of the French capital. Now, the center-right paper, The Times, has a less sensationalist headline. Police officer killed in Paris, terror attack. And they have a similar photo, though, that could almost be a postcard were it not for that police car that we see in the middle. They remind us that this attack came after police arrested 2 young men earlier this week who were suspected of planning an attack to coincide with the elections. Now, the Champs-Élysées is one of the icons of the French capital. A lot of tourists go there, also a lot of locals to shop. And the local and English-language French news website reports that when the attack took place last night, the boulevard was really packed. One witness said that he saw the gunman approach the police officer as if he were going to ask for directions before pulling out a Kalashnikov, and another told the website that he was with colleagues at the time and that they weren't so much scared as they really just thought, oh no, not again.
Now, as we know, France has seen a number of attacks in the past 2 years. What was some of the reaction like online?
Yeah, France has seen so many attacks that people online are saying that now the response is almost something that's rehearsed. But there is often sort of a bright spot that can come out of this. And you can read about this one in the Belgian paper, Le Soir. Last night there was a hashtag that started circulating that was belles choses, or beautiful things. People began tweeting positive images of France. That photo you see there is the city of Vannes in Brittany. It's all lit up at night. There were also pictures circulating of the Mont Saint-Michel, or just sunny French fields full of cows, and of course pictures of Paris. I pulled out one tweet we see the statue of the Marianne at Place de la République, that's here in Paris, and the message from this Twitter user is, France is beautiful, be strong, friends.
Now, many papers believe this attack will have a big impact on the presidential election, the first round taking place this Sunday.
Yeah, there's a lot of analysis about that impact, and they all kind of have the same conclusion about what that impact will be. We can start with The Guardian. This correspondent says that any attack gives ammunition to right-wing candidates, François Fillon and Marine Le Pen, who are seen as, quote, hawkish on crime and security. Now, in Spain, El País says that the attack is valuable propaganda for Marine Le Pen, and they focus on the symbolism of where the attack took place. You can see that headline, Aux Champs-Élysées. That's a reference to a famous song by Joe Dassin. Now, that song is actually rather upbeat, and a lot of our colleagues in the newsroom upstairs found this headline a little bit offensive and definitely shocking. So, meanwhile, the American website, The Daily Beast, cuts right to the chase in their headline. They say, ISIS terror attack in Paris could put far-right Marine Le Pen in power. Now, The Daily Beast cites analysts who say that this is actually the Islamic State's main objective is to get Marine Le Pen into office.
Funny
because,
enough,
according to terrorism experts, their goal is actually to create violent divisions in Europe's population, pitting Christians against Muslims and ultimately leading to civil war.
Now, extremism is the main concern of many papers outside of France, but it's not Islamic extremism, it's French extremism. How so?
It is. A lot of papers in Europe in particular are worried about seeing a runoff between the far-left candidate Jean-Luc Mélenchon and far-right candidate Marine Le Pen. The German paper Der Spiegel says that such a runoff bodes poorly for France, but also for Europe. Now, Jean-Luc Mélenchon has said that he does not want to see France leave the EU, but that doesn't stop many from seeing him as a Eurosceptic candidate. And Der Spiegel says that the election in France is becoming another endgame for Europe's political future. Now, meanwhile, there's an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal that warns against the Frexit, the French exit from the EU. This writer says, Le divorce would be chaotic, and, quote, if you thought Brexit was complicated, you should see the screenplay for Frexit. So the biggest complication being that France would actually have to leave the Eurozone.
And you're ending on a lighter note, I hope. A few cartoons?
Yeah, election-related cartoons still. This first one is from the Chicago Tribune, which is an American paper. And now in the U.S., a lot of people have been drawing comparisons between Marine Le Pen and Donald Trump, so as you see in this cartoon, in particular for their economic protectionism and anti-immigration stance. You can see her anti-immigration button there. The slogan on Marine, right?
Yeah, the cap was good.
Right, the cap is good. That slogan probably looks familiar to you. It's Make France Très Bien Again, or Très Bien Again. It rhymes in the English accent. And then lastly, there's a cartoon in and the Courrier International that's a little bit harder to interpret. It's a version of the painting La Danse by Matisse, but we see the 5 leading candidates are the dancers. It's by the cartoonist Balabin, and the Courrier International calls it kookily poetic, and I think I'd have to agree with that because it's hard to interpret. Otherwise, we see that voter down there is looking a little bit confused, but I think maybe we could say it means that all of the candidates are sort of detached from French society.
Thank you very much. Alison Sargent there with the International Papers.